Good morning, everybody. Nice to be here with all of you. As Andy said, my name is Mike Campbell. I look after the AR product strategy at PTC. If you're not familiar with PTC, we're about $1 billion software company headquartered up in Boston. And really, we are focused on allowing companies like yours to extract value from the convergence of the physical and digital worlds. So we have a long history in 3D solid modeling in CAD and lifecycle management. We have the world's leading industrial IoT platform called ThingWorx. But as Andy said, over the last 5 years or so, we've really been investing in the opportunity that the convergence of this ubiquity, this wealth of digital data that's out there, and the physical world, when those things converge, that leads us into augmented reality. So I'm actually not going to talk a lot about wearables themselves. We're not a hardware company, we're a software company. But wearables, I would argue, are useless without one very important element, and that's content. With what are you going to augment the world around you? How are you going to put information on these devices to get all of the value that Andy talked about and you saw in the video earlier? So, on the topic of content and augmented reality, there's been a ton of research that's been going on. There's a white paper that was released earlier this year from ARC, and they really focused on the industrial applications, specifically in service and in maintenance, and the value that this technology can drive in those kinds of use cases. Aberdeen also just recently published a report, and they talked about the difference between best-in-class companies and the rest of the pack as it relates to embracing digital transformative technologies like augmented reality. And to be honest, the timing couldn't be better, right? It's a pretty challenging world out there. Many of you are in these industrial enterprises. You're dealing with challenges like these on the screen. So the biggest one, I would argue, is the worker skill gap, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. But let's face it, the world that we live in, the world that we work in, is becoming more and more complex. The products are more complex, the workspaces where we do our work is more complex. There's nothing mechanical practically left in the world. It's electromechanical, it's got sensors, it's got software. There's much more complexity, and the demands on industrial enterprises are increasing every day. The customer expectations are also increasing as well, right? They demand immediacy, and that puts pressure on all of you to differentiate your offerings, whatever they are, from the rest of the pack. But this worker skill gap problem is a really, really big challenge. For those of you that are in North America, I think most of you are, you're struggling with the retiring baby boomers, right? They're all leaving the workforce, and everybody around the world has an aging workforce that's retiring out. We're trying to train new workers, but that's expensive. It takes time away from our experts. It's the most prevalent method of doing that today is shadowing, which isn't really as productive as some other means that I'll talk about. We're struggling with outdated documentation. 78% of companies in this study by Deloitte and the Manufacturing Industry Institute, 78% of companies are working with outdated documentation. And then finally, on the right-hand side, and I realize this is hard to see, the font is very small, but the point on the right-hand side is an important one, and that is this perception that industrial jobs, manufacturing jobs, are not interesting to millennials that are coming out of college, right? They're dirty, they're hard work, and digital technologies can help change that perception to draw those workers in and also help get them up to speed and more productive more quickly. So at PTC, we think about 3 different ways to help your company drive value. And they are people, processes, and products. So as it relates to products, digital transformation is changing products, right? Products are becoming smart and connected. They're giving you the opportunity to gain deeper insights that can impact the way that you build your products, make them better, the way you design them and manufacture them, as well as service them, and even operate them out in the field. Digital transformation, IoT specifically, is making an impact on operations. You've heard of Industry 4.0, smart manufacturing. Call it whatever you want. The idea of instrumenting your production lines and gaining insights to increase operational efficiency is a huge lever to pull. If you'd like to talk about that, we'd love to talk about it afterwards. But today, we're here to talk about people. We're here to talk about smart, connected people, providing them information through wearables that is relevant to what they're doing right now, making them overall more productive. And we actually think about the impact that augmented reality specifically and the rest of this wealth of digital information can have on people in three ways. The first thing that it can do is that it can improve their efficiency. It can make them more productive. It can provide them the information they need just in time, in the right place to get their job done. The other thing that it can do is it can make them more effective. It can improve the quality of their work. It can help you reduce scrap and rework. It can help reduce errors and overall drive up quality. And the third major value driver has to do with safety and compliance. By presenting the relevant digital information that people otherwise can't see, we can help people, in some cases, avoid harm, in some cases, save their lives, and also help them do their jobs in a compliant way. Maybe you work in a regulated industry. Maybe the FDA pays very close attention to your processes. We have customers that are using this technology, together with the hardware you'll hear about at this event, in order to ensure that that work is done in a compliant fashion. So we've done a lot of research on the value that these types of technologies can drive into an industrial enterprise. And one particular segment is manufacturing. I'll talk about some of the others in a moment. But the economic impact of augmented reality in manufacturing can be pretty dramatic. And what we've discovered is that the value drivers vary by industry. If you work in automotive, you're likely to care about different things than somebody that works in the semiconductor industry, for example. But across the board, across all industries, the chart on the right shows you the value drivers as it relates specifically to manufacturing. So maybe this is obvious, but if your lines aren't running, you're not making money. So reducing machine downtime, keeping the lines up and running is a huge value driver opportunity. Eliminating scrap and rework and eliminating accidents that cause bodily harm. Those are all other pretty significant value drivers. So we've got a whole bunch of data around what the opportunity is here. And this applies not only in manufacturing, but one of the most exciting things about AR and the application of it through these wearables is that this is technology that can transform the entire value chain. So when we think about the industrial enterprise, think about what goes on in engineering and the opportunity to visualize a product designed before it's been manufactured, but in the context of the physical space. Think about sales and marketing and the ability to visualize product configurations, bring them to a trade show, and not have to bring in tons of equipment, bring in virtual models that can be easily configured and demonstrate the capabilities of your product. I mentioned manufacturing. Think about service, providing your field service technicians with the access to remote experts and relevant information, digital 3D content that will allow them to reduce their time spent in the field, increase first-time fix rate. Those are all applications where we can drive a tremendous amount of value. So what if you believe this, what this says is that AR and its application through wearables is an enterprise play. What we would caution you against is choosing bespoke solutions for each of these things. And in fact, at PTC, that's exactly what we're working on. We're working on allowing you to move into that best-in-class category, to reduce your reliance on traditional 2D documentation and embrace the wealth of digital information that's out there so that you can begin to achieve some of the value that we're talking about here today. If you're on the fence, if you're not sure about whether or not augmented reality is better, we'd encourage you to come by our booth. There's a great article that was written in Harvard Business Review a couple of years ago now. It's called Why Every Company Needs an AR Strategy. And it goes through the science behind the way that we interact with the world from a visual perspective, and clearly proves out that seeing digital information in context on the right device, and it's got to work, and all of those things. But if you can achieve that, there's tremendous benefit just in terms of the way that we consume information. Now at PTC, what we're working on is applying that technology, again, specifically in industrial enterprise situations. So we're very focused on topics like remote expert access, capturing and scaling expertise, presenting 3D content, presenting other forms of digital data, sensor information, or information from other places in order for you to get some of these benefits around efficiency and safety and effectivity. We do that with an enterprise augmented reality suite. This is a set of capabilities that have been designed and developed and tested to all work well together, but all focused on specific use cases. Use cases around remote assistance. You've got a technician in the field and they need access to an expert that's back at headquarters. Instead of rolling another truck out the next day, leverage wearables, leverage AR, present the information that they need, job gets done faster, customers more satisfied. Procedural guidance, this topic of capturing that wealth of domain knowledge that exists in your workforce today, but maybe has never been written down, but would be so valuable if everybody knew what Bob the expert knows. We've got a great solution for helping you do that. If you have the luxury of having access to rich 3D CAD data, to the digital twin of your design that's managed with an enterprise PLM system, let's say, we have outstanding tools to allow you to leverage that information and present it in the form of 3D work instructions so that people can, again, do their jobs more effectively. And then finally, there's a variety of use cases around visualizing that which you cannot see, visualizing products, visualizing new designs. So this is the collection of capabilities that we deliver, but we deliver these things. We built these things with an eye toward what's happening in your companies. These challenges that I initially set as context earlier on. The challenges around increasing productivity are addressed with our tools like knowledge capture. Increasing effectiveness by delivering better training. Training that isn't presented as 100 topics that you might need to know just in case you ever encounter them, but training that's delivered just in time, exactly when you need it, so that you can consume that information, apply it, and move on effectively. Quality, right? Reducing scrap and rework. I'll show you some examples of where we're seeing results like that. And then finally, product differentiation. The opportunity to leverage IoT and leverage AR and present information to your customers that they never would have had in the past allows them to maybe self-service their products, certainly differentiate your products from the others that would be out there in your market from a competitive perspective. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to show you a couple of examples of these. So the first one comes from a company called BAE Systems. They make electric batteries for hybrid drive buses. And they're leveraging their 3D CAD data and they're presenting to the frontline worker who's responsible for assembling these batteries augmented 3D instructions. So she sees exactly what she needs to do next. Now, each of these batteries may be different. There are many different configurations, so it's important that she assembles them in the right way. In the past, she used paper, then she moved to a giant flat screen monitor, and now they're presenting information on a wearable device. That lady in the video, her name is Fran. She will tell you that she can do her job 50% faster. Her boss will tell you that he can train new employees 30 to 40% faster, and that he can do it at 1/10 of the cost. Another example is a customer of PTC's called Howden. They make industrial pumps. They've been making industrial pumps for 110 years. And any mechanical engineers in the audience know, pump theory hasn't changed that much in 110 years. So it's difficult to differentiate those offerings. They're providing their customers a solution created with PTC technology, presented on a wearable that allows the operator to understand how the machine is performing, see when there are issues with the machine, diagnose those issues, order spare parts, and in certain cases, perform self-service and replace those components and keep their machine up and running. When a blower goes down in a wastewater treatment facility, the cost to the municipality can be on the order of millions of dollars per hour that pump is offline. So this is a huge differentiator for them in what you might think of as a traditional, very mechanically intensive business. Both of those solutions, as you saw, leverage 3D content. But as I said, sometimes you don't have access to 3D content. Sometimes the knowledge you want isn't engineered expertise, it's gathered expertise over time, and experiential expertise, tacit knowledge. And that's why we've developed a solution called Expert Capture. So instead of me talking over this, I'm going to roll a quick video and show you what this tool is all about.
Industrial manufacturers are expected to face millions of unfilled jobs in the next decade. Their ability to leverage existing resources and improve productivity has never been more important. Now is the time to evolve how workers access and learn critical information, to reduce scrap, rework, and training costs, and save manufacturers tens of millions of dollars a year. That's why we created Euphoria Expert Capture. It's the fastest, easiest way to create powerful step-by-step instructions that help frontline workers get their jobs done quickly and accurately. Knowledge is easily recorded without the need for existing assets or causing disruption to high-value workers, and used to create step-by-step instructions highlighting safety precautions and relevant locations. Content is easily fine-tuned, published, and managed through a secure SaaS-based environment and automatically optimized for viewing on Microsoft HoloLens, RealWear HMT1, and mobile devices. Augmented instructions are easily accessed by new or reassigned workers, increasing efficiency, accuracy, and safety. New skills are learned on the job, cutting training time and costs. Safety warnings are presented at the moment they're relevant, reducing the risk of injury. Workers follow location markers to successfully complete the required steps. Each step of the procedure can be documented and analyzed to improve efficiency and compliance. Euphoria Expert Capture from PTC, transforming the way manufacturers reduce waste and enable a safer, more productive workforce.
So what's most exciting to me about this solution is that it doesn't require the expert to sit down, to document, to be interviewed. They simply do their job. They wear a piece of wearable technology and they do what they do every day. They talk through it, and all of that knowledge is captured so that it can then be enhanced, published, and then scaled out to the enterprise. Now, most of the examples that I've shown you here are with digital eyewear. Our strategy, again, as a software company, is really to embrace the breadth of devices that you, the market, are interested in. So today, our technology runs on phones and tablets. It runs on the HoloLens. It runs on a variety of binocular devices, including Andy's, the RealWear HMT1, which we are pretty big fans of. But if you are interested in this technology, you've got another favorite device, we'd love to hear from you. We're really market-driven in terms of the devices that we support, and again, as a software company, largely hardware agnostic. So we've talked about the challenges, we've talked about some of the technology. I'm hoping that you get a sense for how these offerings, these solutions for digital transformation, augmented reality specifically, can drive the benefits that are enumerated here. I think that part of the way that we scale, to Andy's point earlier, is by clearly communicating what the value is here, right? What is the ROI, not only on the device side, but also on the content side. And at PTC, as I said, we've spent time with literally hundreds, somewhere around 700 companies, doing a detailed analysis that informs some of those charts that I showed you earlier. And what we do is we take that knowledge and we engage with a particular enterprise. So if you're thinking about this topic, the way we would approach that is to engage with you and to truly understand what are the value drivers in your business. So we worked with one high-tech manufacturing customer that I'll cite here. They're actually here in the room, which is great. But their business goals were really around asset utilization, eliminating waste, and reducing labor costs. So with that knowledge, we then dug into what's the baseline? What's happening today? How does documentation work? How does training work? How is knowledge passed from one to another? And what we discovered are things that you see here, maybe common in your company: manual documentation, shadowing as a training technique, lack of standard approaches for creating content. And then the question becomes, what does that cost? So what are your current metrics as it relates to things like downtime and scrap rates? We then took that experience that we have from those other 700 or so customers, and we determined what was the value that could be created by applying some of this technology in this particular enterprise, in one particular factory where this company had a facility. And what we realized together, this isn't PTC sitting somewhere in a spreadsheet. This is a collaborative workshop. What we identified is $40 million of potential savings. Now that's at 100% utilization, but it's only one factory. They've got dozens of factories. And even if you don't get to 100% utilization, say you get to 20%, $8 million savings isn't bad to start. And again, that's just one factory. And this is an approach that we've templated and we can repeat again and again and again. So here's another example. This is with a medical equipment manufacturer. Think heavy capital equipment. And their business goals, as you can see, were different. They were much more focused on training, much more focused on the ramp-up phase, but the process is entirely the same. And leveraging this wealth of data and the specific examples and the specific metrics that were relevant to this particular company, we were able to identify $19 million just from training alone. We're not even exploring all of those other use cases around the racetrack that I showed earlier across the value chain. So if this is interesting to you, we'd love to help you take advantage of tools to provide content so that you can get the maximum value out of the devices you'll be hearing more about here today. I'll just close by pointing out that PTC is the leader in industrial enterprise AR. We've got the largest breadth of technology. We're building this enterprise suite, this collection of capabilities that works well together, works well individually to address the needs that you may have. We've got 28,000 industrial companies. We're 30 years old. We've been helping companies improve the way that they create and operate, service, and manufacture products for a long, long time. And we embrace a breadth of use cases. Whether it's discrete manufacturing, whether it's process manufacturing, across the whole board, we've got solutions to help you out. And a key part of what we bring to the table is we're not showing up with just a content tool for augmented reality. We understand where that data comes from. We have a deep heritage in CAD and PLM and IoT, and it's really the convergence of those technologies that unlocks the value here in digital transformation. We're intensely customer focused, whether it's what devices do we support, our approach to user-centric design, these workshops that I've been discussing. We want to work with you to address the problems that you have and unlock the value that we're discussing here today. And then finally, we've got a clear strategy for growth and expansion. I can tell you personally that this business at PTC is very important to our CEO, and we feel like today we are the market leader, and we intend on preserving that position so that we can continue to help you and drive value into your organization. So with that, I'd invite you to visit us at our booth outside, and I hope that was helpful. Enjoy the rest of the conference.